Okay, so now that you've logged into your administration, you will notice that under the Getting Help section, there is a link to form documentation. We're going to use this form documentation. We're going to actually cut and paste right out of this document into a new page to create the Contact Us form. So let's go ahead and take a look at this documentation real quick. So you can see that it has loaded, and it's a PDF, and you need to make sure that it is the current release. So this one's version 3.6 for December 2009. We just made some small modifications to make this video for you. There's really not that much of a change in this release. And in this documentation, it's going to look a little complicated at first for some of you because this is a little bit outside of the box of WYSIWYG. We're going to get into a little bit more of the hand coding, a little bit more advanced features, but it's not completely undoable for the novice. If you follow this video and you listen to what the pitfalls are, you'll know very quickly where you need to be careful and how to look for them. The first part of this is client-side validation, and that is the JavaScript that will decide whether or not there's information in the form fields that you asked for that are required. This section is optional. It is not required in order to make the form work, but it does help if you need certain fields to be required to run it through JavaScript. The second section is some basic form tag information. The key here is if you're going to allow them to upload images, you need to make sure that the multi-part form data type is in here, and here's an example of it right here. The other thing is, it is my recommendation that you name all your forms my form, because the JavaScript is going to look for that information. The other thing is, if you're going to use JavaScript, you need to make sure that the onSubmit is in there, because this is what's going to call it once they click the link. But the thing to remember is JavaScript is case sensitive, so everything needs to be exact. Whatever's in your form needs to be exactly in your JavaScript. There's some server-side validations. We don't use this so much anymore, because it does work better if you can catch the visitor before or right when they hit submit, instead of going to the server and coming back and wasting some extra precious time. But again, you want to name your form my form. This is just for the HTML code. You'll have the option to name the data set that this form is going to collect later. So let's go down a little bit. Server-side validation, like I said, it's not required, but you can use it. Now here's where we start getting into the nuts and bolts of the form processor. For iControl WebStudio, these are your main fields that you're going to run that are going to tell the form system what to do when the visitor hits submit. So it's pretty important. I would read through this very quickly and kind of get an idea of what's available here. We'll talk about some of these in a little bit. We're not going to go into the specifics for this video, but they are available to you right here. There's some more down here. This is your database variables. I highly suggest that you collect all of your data in a database. That way, if for some reason at a later date, all you have to do is go to form data and then find your form and then export it, and it will put it into an Excel spreadsheet format for you, and you can go and call it anytime you want to. Here's some things to remember. I'll let you guys read this. We're not going to read this line by line. And then here's a form. Here's an example Contact Us form. We're going to go ahead and use both the JavaScript that's in this document and this form, and you are welcome to use it as well. It's pretty simple. It's a cut and paste action, and it will process everything you need to properly. So let's get started. The first thing that we're going to need to do is we're going to need to create a page. So once you've logged into your administration, and this, by the way, just to let folks know, this form process that we're about to discuss will work if you're a Classic customer, a Shop Studio customer, or a Soho customer. All three of those different platforms, this will work exactly the same. The administration will look a little bit different, but once you get to the editor, it's exactly the same, the way it works and the way it acts. So let's go ahead and go to Content Management. We're going to go to Page Management, and we're going to create a new page, and we're going to call this New Contact Form. So we'll go ahead and hit go. This is iControl WebStudio Classic. It's a little bit more intense than the Soho version for those of you that are in Soho. We're going to go directly to edit the page, and we're going to go directly to the objects. If you're a Soho customer, you'll have just one object and the editor. If you're a Classic customer, you'll have the option to create multiple objects. Since this is a Classic form, I'm going to put the JavaScript in its own object. We're going to have three objects here. We're going to have the content at the top of the page that tells our users what this form is about. We're going to have the JavaScript validation, and then we're going to have the form itself. So let's edit the first object. So the first thing we're going to do is name our form. Fix our errors. Let's go ahead and set this as a heading. Say, and that's good for this object. So this is going to be the header. We're going to leave it in order 1, and we're going to hit finish. We're going to create another object, and again, Soho customers, you do all this in one page. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and create another object for our JavaScript. This is where our validation is going to reside. And again, if you are a Soho customer, you'll wind up doing all of this on a single page. It's no problem, works just as fine. So we're going to create the new object. We're going to call it form validation. We're going to order it number 2, so it goes underneath our header. We're now going to go to our PDF. We're going to go down to the JavaScript section. What we're looking for is the start of the JavaScript and the end of the JavaScript. So we're going to select this whole section right here. Real simple. We're going to copy it. We're going to go back to the editor. We're going to view the source, and we're going to paste it in. So there's our JavaScript. It's pretty simple to do. It's pretty basic. JavaScript, I would recommend that you don't edit this until you become a little bit more familiar with JavaScript. So what we're looking at here is, this is the name field. These double slashes are comments. They just tell you what's going on inside of here. So this is where it all starts. This is going to look for the name field inside your form. This is going to look for the phone field inside your form. This is going to verify that the phone field is formatted correctly. This is going to look for the email field in your form. This is going to verify that the email in the form is formatted correctly. And then it's going to send it out. These are the messages that go out. You can change these, but again, unless you're somewhat knowledgeable with JavaScript, I would recommend that you just paste it in here, use the same form names, and call it good. So we've copied that directly from the PDF document. We're going to use it as is, and now we're going to create our form itself. So we're going to go back here and create a new object. And this is where we're going to put in our form fields. Now that we've got the object created, let's go get our form. We'll go back to the PDF. We'll scroll down to the bottom, and we'll copy this form just the way it is. There you go. Right click, hit copy. Let's paste this back to our source again. So we're going to click on the source tab. We're going to paste that in, and there's our form. Again, until you become more familiar with source, HTML, and some JavaScript, you can just leave this the way it is. One little thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to center my form. So I'm going to go to the table command. And you can do this in the WYSIWYG editor if you've used it before. But since I'm here, I'm just going to go ahead and type it in real quick. Now, I do want to go over a couple of things that are in here. These hidden fields are the control mechanisms that are in the PDF. They're the same that you'll find up here. under this information right here, the variables. So let's take a look at what's actually here. Well, this is going to run the JavaScript that we have just put in. These two fields here are the email address of where this form data is going to be sent to. For instance, this is going to go to cto@ilgm.com, so you'll need to put in the email username, the account, and then the domain name. We split this apart so that it keeps the spammers from harvesting your email address and sending you a whole bunch of spam. So I would recommend that you do it this way. The form tool does show you how to do it in a solid format if you want. This email field here is the field of the form where the visitor's email address is going to be collected from. We're going to ask that be verified, and what that means is we're going to send them an email. They're going to require them to click on a link, and all it really does is just changes a flag in the data to let you know that somebody's actually verified it. So if you export your data out later, you want to make sure you only send to verified email addresses for newsletters or what have you, you can. This submit alert, this is what happens when the user clicks on the submit button. This is going to throw a JavaScript pop-up that says thank you. It's not blocked by pop-up blockers. And then because there's no landing page, this is just going to send them right back to your home page. You can have the alert if you want. I think it's a lot more cleaner and a lot more effective. It does let your visitor know that they've actually submitted and something has happened. So it's good to have. But doing it this way, you're not required to have a dedicated landing page either. But if you wanted a dedicated landing page, you could, and you could land them on another forum or somewhere else to give them more information. This is going to be the subject which the emails are going to be tossed back and forth with. This is going to add the form data to the email that the user gets so that they have a copy of what they filled out. This is the contact name in the form. This is the field name, and I'll show you that in a minute, of the form. Actually, it's right here. This is the form type. We're telling the system that we do want to collect the data and store it in the database on the website so that we can export it later. That's very valuable. We're telling the system with local only that we only want URLs to submit to this from within our website and not somebody else's. Again, this is a protection for spammers who are trying to harvest this data. Here is the name of your form. This is also the name of the data set that you'll see under Business Tools, under Form Data. This is the name of your data. So this is important to have. If you change this form, you need to change the version so that each data set is stored separately. And then the opt 1, 2, and 3, as the PDF mentioned, these are just the first three columns that you'll see over in the form data, and we'll show you that in a little bit. They're the first three columns that you see over there so that you have a reference to find somebody's information. So we're going to go ahead and change this to version 10.0 so that when we save this and we look at our data in a little bit, we can find it very quickly. So from here, you can click back onto the WYSIWYG view by clicking on Source. This will show you exactly what you have. You can make some minor modifications here, but I'd be very careful not to mess with the form fields until you're a little bit more comfortable with the with what's going on in the source. Now, all we have to do is save this. All we have to do is hit Finish. Here's our three objects. Let's go ahead and go home. And let's activate the page. And let's take a preview of what we've done. And we'll go ahead and view our work by clicking the V button for view. Here's our form. One of the things that you want to look for if you're using the JavaScript is that there are no errors down here. If there's an error, it would be a little yellow symbol. So we have our name, our email address, our telephone number, the message that we want them to type, how they contacted us, best time to call. And if we hit the Contact Us button now, the JavaScript's going to pop up and say, hey, these 3 fields are required. You must at least fill these out. So let's go ahead and fill those out real quick. And contact us. There's our little thank you message. We went OK. It's going to take everybody back to the home page. And that's how the form is created. Now, let's go look at what did we get for that. So if we go back to our admin tool, we click on business tools, if we go to form data, and Soho is relatively the same, there is contact us number 10. So we can view, this will show us everybody that's filled out this form. We can view the record. This shows us the information in the form. We can delete it, or we can click export to create an Excel spreadsheet. Now also what you get out of this is an email. So let's go look and see what that looks like. So the email that you'll get as the administrator will look like this. You'll have where it's from, when it was from, the basic information that was in the form, all the form fields and elements, and then some basic detail information about who sent this and where it came from. So that's basically it for forms in iControl WebStudio. I hope this was informative. If you have any questions, feel free to leave me an email. Thank you.